What's the title of that?
The title is Congressional Lawmaking Authority Protection Act of 2007 and 8 regarding signing statements.
So ordered.
I thank you. In the discussion of signing statements, I want to make sure that we now have a vehicle to move forward legislation that I've offered regarding signing statements, and I know others have been suggested as well. But I'd like to put it in the context, if I can pose my questions around my premise of protecting the Constitution, that there may be a number of vehicles that we might use. First, I want to say to the chairman, a series of abuse of power hearings, and I know how challenging it is for us to issue subpoenas, but to impress upon the Congress the importance of subpoenaing Karl Rove, as we have done, and to utilize, as we want to do, and to utilize the subpoena power because it is in the context of protecting the American people. We should not be intimidated by the process or time that what we're doing is not personalizing this. I have no angst against a personal individual, as we've tried to use the name of President Clinton and Franklin Delano Roosevelt and President Johnson. This is not a personal question. This is a question of protecting the institution, the Constitution. Now let me go back and pay tribute to those who have lost their lives on the front lines of Iraq and Afghanistan, and to pay tribute to the veterans who are here. But in the memory of those who lost their lives in Iraq, this is the question that I want to raise. One of the oath of office says to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, and our colleague, Congressman KUCINICH, has included those very, very precise words in one of his articles. And
Congressman KUCINICH, what is the factual basis for your claim that the President made knowing untrue statements, for the White House made knowing untrue statements to the Congress, which led us into war?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and Mr. Ellison, I took Senate Joint Resolution 45, which came from the White House. I took HJ Res 114, which we passed, which was essentially the same. I examined it line by line, and in doing so, was able to come to an easy conclusion that the representations that were made in both of these resolutions, substantive representations,
could you sort of
were in fact summarize? Were not backed up by fact. And when I speak to this, I'll speak to both SJ Res 45 and House Joint Resolution 114, and this is what we acted upon. We were told that Iraq was continuing to threaten the national security interests of the United States. That's a direct quote from these resolutions. It not only turned out not to be true, but there was intelligence that existed at the time that suggested that the White House knew then that it wasn't true. That we were told in this resolution that Iraq was continuing to possess and develop a significant chemical and biological weapons capability. We learned since then that was not true, and there's evidence that suggests that the White House understood at that time that it was not true, and nevertheless represented to the Congress that it was. So we were told that Iraq was actively seeking a nuclear weapons capability, that Iraq had a willingness to attack the United States, that Iraq had demonstrated capability and willingness to use weapons of mass destruction, that Iraq could launch a surprise attack against the United States or its armed forces, that there was an extreme magnitude of harm that would result in the United States, that would result in the United States and its citizens from such an attack, that there was justification for the use of force by the United States to defend itself, that Iraq had, there was an attempt to connect Iraq with 9/11 and with al-Qaeda's role in 9/11, and over saying Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. This came from the resolutions which Congress was presented and which